Civilians blindfolded, then shot dead at close range, mass graves, and thousands more tortured. Vladimir Putin's brutality is generating global outrage, and now President Biden wants Putin to face trial for war crimes.
The Russians are calling the images of these crimes a hoax. Ukraine's President Zelenskyy says they're acts of genocide. CBN's Jenna Browder has more from Washington.
Retreating Russian forces in areas around Kyiv gave way to scenes of death and destruction. The Kremlin calls the images a hoax as President Biden and NATO allies promised more sanctions against Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy visited Bucha, a town on the outskirts of Kyiv, where Ukrainian officials claim the Russian military killed hundreds of civilians before retreating.
It's war crimes that will be recognized as genocide by the world. You're here and you see what has happened. We know about thousands of killed and tortured people.
The graphic images showing civilians left scattered across streets and buildings, some blindfolded and shot at close range, and a mass grave outside the Church of St. Andrews. This man telling Zelenskyy he saw 12 people killed who were just riding their bikes or traveling by car. President Biden is vowing to impose more sanctions against Russia and says Putin should be tried for war crimes.
He is a war criminal. This guy is brutal. And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous. And everyone's seen it.
The State Department says the atrocities weren't the act of rogue soldiers, but an intentional strategy. U.S. officials now warning Russia is shifting troops to Ukraine's east and south.
We should be under no illusions that Russia will adjust its tactics.
In Mariupol, the struggle persists where some 100,000 civilians are still trapped as Russian and Ukrainian forces engage in heavy fighting.
I can tell you without an exaggeration, but with great sorrow, that the situation in Mariupol is much worse compared to what we've seen in Bucha and other cities, towns and villages nearby Kyiv.
France and Germany are now expelling dozens of Russian diplomats, and French President Macron is calling on the U.S. to consider sanctions against Russian coal and oil. And today, President Zelenskyy will address the UN Security Council. It comes as the U.S. says it will push to have Russia removed from the UN's Human Rights Council. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.